The judge, Shelley Richmond Joseph, was indicted by a federal grand jury Thursday, along with Wesley MacGregor, who retired last month after 26 years as a Massachusetts trial court officer. U.S. Attorney Andrew Lelling announced the indictment at a press conference alongside top officials from the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement's Boston field office. "This case is not about immigration," Lelling insisted. "It is about the rule of law." The case revolves around Jose Medina Perez, a Dominican national who was arrested by Newton, Massachusetts, police in March of last year and charged with drug possession. According to court documents, Medina Perez, who was believed to be the subject of an outstanding warrant on a drunk driving charge, had been deported twice previously. ICE requested police to hold him until he could be placed in their custody. The indictment says that Joseph, the prosecutor, and Medina Perez had a brief sidebar about the immigration detainer, during which Joseph instructed the clerk to turn the courtroom recorder off for about a minute, a violation of the court rules. The fugitive warrant was dropped when prosecutors discovered they had the wrong man and the judge determined he did not need to be held on the drug charge. Informed that an ICE agent was waiting outside, Joseph said, "I'm not going to allow them to come in here." Then, according to the indictment, MacGregor escorted Medina Perez downstairs and out a back door. Joseph and MacGregor were indicted on one count of conspiracy to obstruct justice and 2 counts of obstruction of justice aiding and abetting. MacGregor was also charged with 1 count of perjury. They pleaded not guilty. Massachusetts Attorney General Maura Healey called the indictment a radical and politically motivated attack on our state and the independence of our courts. Carol Rose, executive director of the ACLU of Massachusetts, echoed Healey's view of the indictment as an assault on justice in Massachusetts courts. "This decision seems to have little to do with the actual facts, and everything to do with enforcing the president's anti-immigrant agenda," Rose said in a statement. In this case, like so many others across Massachusetts, an ICE officer staked out a state court and made it difficult for court officials to do their job, which is to ensure that people in state court have access to justice. Massachusetts is home to several so-called sanctuary cities, including Boston and Newton, which have enacted laws barring local police from helping ICE to enforce federal immigration law. Last year, the state's Supreme Judicial Court ruled that police could not detain people based solely on immigration violations. Sanctuary cities have been the subject of regular attacks by President Trump, who issued an executive order to block federal funding for such jurisdictions shortly after taking office. Attempts by the Justice Department under former Attorney General Jeff Sessions to carry out that order, however, have been repeatedly blocked by the courts. More recently, The Washington Post reported that White House officials have proposed transporting immigrants in ICE custody to sanctuary cities and releasing them onto the streets as an act of retaliation against elected officials who oppose Trump's immigration policies. The increased ICE presence at both civil and criminal courthouses around the country has raised concerns from immigration advocates as well as criminal justice experts. ICE's reliance on immigration arrests in courthouses instills fear in clients and deters them from seeking justice in a court building, read a letter sent by 68 former state and federal judges in December to then-acting ICE Director Ronald Vitiello. Vitiello departed the agency earlier this month after Trump withdrew his nomination for director from the Senate, citing a desire to go in a tougher direction. Lelling, the Massachusetts U.S. Attorney, insisted the action against the judge was an anomaly and not intended as an attack on the Massachusetts courts. But the indictment and the high-profile press conference seemed intended to send a signal of a crackdown on sanctuary policies.